the plot summary of Day of the Dead is that a bunch of overactors are in a silo in Pittsburgh and scream lines at each other until most of them get eaten by zombies. But before they totally get eaten by zombies, they scream a lot of points about nihilism.
So, Pete, with that in mind, what did you think of the movie?
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and lead by saying I loved your synopsis, and it almost made me change my rankings.
Hmm.
In case you haven't deduced, this is my least favorite of the initial trilogy, with a lot of caveats about how great there's greatness in this movie, but I think my biggest problem is the execution. Because as we've established, every actor in this movie is at an 11. And all right, I don't know if I'm alone here. George Romero has this kind of habit of like, instead of creating characters, he'll just assign an ethnicity and be like, that's your character in this movie. And I never really noticed it until this viewing. I love the Irish guy whose entire characterization is Jesus, Mary, and Joseph takes a drink. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph takes a drink. Uh, one character is Jamaican. By the way, the actor is from Detroit. If for no other reason than who doesn't love the Jamaicans? They're just so like just light and philosophical. Um, it's just nutty.
Something to that point though, something I do like about Romero's movies, and yeah, Day is just everybody swinging for the fences as hard as they can. But to your point of assigning an ethnicity, I noticed that Romero, especially in the initial trilogy, people of color, mostly black men, are the voice of reason a lot of the time.
which
Right.
is often true in real life.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
the Nope syndrome of like, I heard a scary noise. Should we investigate? Nope.
No.
Okay.
Should we go
Um,
bungee jumping? No.
no, no, there's enough out there that will kill us. Could we like not tempt fate? Um,
And to
I mean,
piggyback off of that, I one of my favorite plot elements of the movie, kind of this idea, is that the world they're trying to save only really exists in their memories because this is years after the apocalypse started. And John the pilot, who's the central black man character of the movie, isn't doesn't have quite as big of a focus as the black man in Night and Dawn. But in the opening of the shot, when they land the helicopter and they're like, he's like, hey, maybe we should stop doing this and go to an island somewhere and just like make babies. And like Dr. Sarah Bowman, who's like the protagonist of the film, is like, you would really do that? And he's like, yeah, why are we here?
okay, all right, real quick to jump to the end just a little bit. I've got so many thoughts on the ending,
Go for
but
it.
one of which is all right. So our three heroes do make it to an island, and all I could think as the ending credits are rolling is like, oh man, that would have turned into an orgy so fast.
Yeah.
Like those three were just boning. It was just sort of like there's nothing else to do except catch fish and have sex with each other.
Yeah.
And like good for them. You make the most of your end of the world.
Yeah. And like, why, yeah, why else would you? You know? Um, so who would your favorite character be in the piece? Like who's the person that grabs you the most?
I'm with you. My favorite character in this entire franchise is Rhodes. Okay. First off, I love a good villain.
Yeah.
Second, like, every character in this movie is kind of one note. I mean, like I think Sarah has the biggest growth of like, no, let's go to the island. Let's abandon trying to save the world. That's her and kind of her arc. But Rhodes is just pure evil.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Burns level of sinister. Um, and oh man, Joe Patillo, I think is the actor's name.
Yeah.
So just he understood the assignment. Watching this time, I'm like, this guy is doing the best Kirk Douglas impersonation ever. just screaming all of his lines, and even doing like a Kirk Douglas voice. His veins are popping out of his head. I'm like, this poor actor must have needed an aspirin after every take. Such a great death scene. He's
Yeah.
just having so much fun making that. Like Rhodes for the win, Team Rhodes.
I also like Rhodes. I love um how he was probably just before the zombie war. He's probably just like a really wound tight captain, right? He was probably already kind of a waspy, wound tight dude to begin with. And then the world ended, and then he's in charge of the 7 people that are left alive.
I love one advantage that both of us have watching this movie and talking about it is that we both served in the military.
Yeah.
We both knew exactly what Lieutenant Rhodes was like.
Yep. And
We're
he
gonna
made
check
you
every barcode in the motor pool. I don't care if it's 1700.
he made you want to go to sick call so you didn't have to go to work that day. Yeah.
Like, everyone in that formation was like, oh crap, he's Captain Rhodes now. Oh boy,
Yeah.
he's in charge of a company.
Yeah, and then like you get fucking wound tight Captain Rhodes, and then the world ends, and then his boss is dead, and then like all of this, he's not really the high pressure sort of guy. He's the we're gonna write myself like a Bronze Star with V device for sitting on a fob for a whole deployment. He's one of those guys. And there's a I just I wish the acting wasn't at an 11. I wish it was at a 9. But like something I do love about this is the bleak despair that just runs through every frame of this film. And if I look at it through that lens of a guy who should not have been in charge, who for the last 5 years, all he knows is that he keeps failing. And so there's a voice in the back of his head where he's not even really that like confident of a guy to begin with, that just keeps driving the point home, right? Like toward the end, when the main scientist, Dr. Logan, comma Frankenstein, it's found out that he has been feeding pieces of Rhodes' dead soldiers to Bub, his
I
pet.
was I was with Rhodes in that moment. Like that's
Yeah,
fucked up.
shoot that motherfucker. And and the piece of Rhodes acting that seemed the most genuine, he was like, those were my men. Like you could see all of like the ownership of the responsibility and the feelings of all of his failure coming out all at once in that scene. That being said, he's at that point throughout the whole movie.
The actor, every actor in this movie must have been exhausted after making this movie. The
Yeah.
cast party must have just been a group nap because everyone just wore themselves out.
Except for Dr. Logan. He was pretty
I
mellow. Or at least he was at a 7 when everyone else is at an 11.
Well, I think I'm going to agree with you about my second favorite character as well, Bub. I can
Yeah.
see 100% why Bub is a fan favorite.
Yeah.
There's only so many directions you can go in with a zombie story. So I think Romero making like the trained zombie, like that was such a good direction. And it was like, you know what, by the end of the movie, like and Bub gets to like shoot Rhodes. So it's
Yeah.
like okay, good for you, Bub.
Like I I like to try to empathize with villains, right? Not because like I like villains or Thanos was right or something stupid like that, but more so to understand why people turn a certain way. And so, like with Rhodes, I can also kind of understand Dr. Logan Frankenstein and how he just went way off the deep end to where like he clearly snapped like a year before the movie started because he's feeding human flesh to zombies and calling them himself mother or something. But a lot of it too is like a theme of the movie I love is how do you deal with failure? Like an overarching, overwhelming, everything fell apart and there's nothing we could do. These two guys who were stuck in their old modes, their old responsibilities of the old world, were just kept trying and kept failing to the point where Rhodes is just shooting people, and Frankenstein is just feeding people to zombies. But then you've got our heroes who are the future recipient of the orgy on the island. Are they realize, oh, this isn't working? We should have left a year ago.
I'll see if you agree with me on this. I think the MVP in this movie is behind the scenes, and that is Tom Savini. Tom Savini should have won an Oscar for this movie. This is his masterpiece as a makeup designer. Um,
He
like
did
what
win a Saturn Award.
he did, and the thing is, like I looked up like so Mask won Best Makeup 1985, and
Mm,
if you've seen that, it's the makeup's really good. But I'm just like, okay, like Academy occasionally throw a bone to horror.
yeah.
Like the best makeup category has really kind of turned into you made Charlize Theron look like Megan Kelly. Here's an Oscar. I'm like, okay, cool, but there's like genre films out there that are like breaking ground and like prosthetic makeup. Um,
That's funny.
so I just think the makeup is absolutely outstanding. It's such
Oh my
a
God, yeah.
growth from the first movie, not just in the fact that like they had a bigger budget, makeup had advanced so much. But the thing is, they chose that deterioration of the zombies after months of this happening. Plus, it's in Florida, so like it's like they're going to be decomposing a lot faster.
Ew. It's
There's
gonna be
there's there's
fun.
humidity and meth, so
I mean, Florida already has zombies if you think about it.
um and another thing, because I loved your take of just the bleakness, the whole like, hey, instead of trying to save the world, let's just make the most of our time left. And strangely enough, the bleakness leads into the happiest ending of the entire franchise.
Oh my God, yeah.
But here's something I never thought about until last night. Who's to say that happy ending was real?
Explain.
Okay, so the movie begins with Sarah having a nightmare, and she has nightmares throughout the movie. But the thing is, the first nightmare is key because
Mhm.
we see her marking up the calendar. By the way, I just realized this too. The movie literally takes place on Dia de los Muertes,
Uh,
and I'm like, okay, you know what, George Romero, that's pretty clever.
he's a clever guy.
So the movie ends with Sarah running up to the helicopter and the zombie hands grab her.
Yeah.
Call back to the beginning of the movie, and then cuts with no explanation to her on this beautiful island with the other two survivors. They've accomplished all of their goals, and what does she do? She pulls out a calendar and starts marking up November. And I'm like, okay, what if? Because like she had the nightmares because she was overwhelmed with anxiety.
Yeah.
And in the end, who's to say that in the moment of all hope is lost, she didn't fall away into a happy dream? So I'm just saying, I was getting vibes of like Brazil at the end of this movie, where it was just sort of like, okay, reality became too overwhelming. She's being eaten by zombies. So in her dying thoughts, she's thinking, oh, but what a happy ending we could have had.
I kind of saw the happy ending. Now, like, there's like this narrative, there's a very similar narrative through line, right? And we'll skip a little bit to Dawn, right? But just I saw the happy ending of Day as like, you've got because Dawn was very similar. Dawn had a black male protagonist and a female protagonist escape in a helicopter. And so I thought, oh, this is kind of like everyone gets a happy ending.
And now there's an Irish guy.
And now there's an Irish guy. Funny postscript today, though, there's talk of kind of an unofficial sequel, or they're calling it Night of the Living Dead 2. But it's because of the and we'll get to Night here in a second, because of all the royalty-free aspects of it. And it's the character the actors that were in the end of Day. And it's them on the island 30 years later. And they're like, what do you do when you're old and the zombies come? And I don't know if it's in production. I don't know if it's been filmed. I don't know I'm excited for it. I know that much.
All right. I know you are a Star Wars fan.
Yes.
Do you know the Star Wars connection to Day of the Dead?
Talk to me.
Terry Alexander, who played the aforementioned Jamaican,
Yep.
with the most Jamaican accent ever, despite being from Michigan. Um, he screen tested for Lando Calrissian,
That's awesome.
and I bet he was not at all miserable for the rest of his life that he did not get that huge part.